Hey guys, welcome to the Kick-Ass Living podcast. Today I have the great honor and pleasure to have Dr. Joe Vitale on my podcast. Hey Dr. Joe, welcome to this podcast.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this. I'm flattered. I'm excited. Let's rock and roll.
Cool. Well, guys, you probably know him already. He's the master of the law of attraction, and many of you know him already from the movie The Secret, where he had a major appearance as one of the main teachers. He's also the author of over 70 books, and some of the best-selling books such as The Attractor Factor, Anything is Possible, At Zero, The Quest for Miracles, through Hope, Pono, and many more. And he's also created countless audio programs throughout the world that help people all over the world. So I'm really, really honored that you're part of this podcast today. So I welcome you, and I want to just, quickly, you've been having an incredible journey in life so far. Like, how did you end up getting into personal development, spirituality, and becoming an author?
Oh, that's a big question. I largely got into personal development because I was trying to personally develop me. Mm-hmm. I was trying to improve myself. I was trying to find happiness. I was trying to find success. I was trying to find the secrets to having a successful life. And because I was reading all the self-help books, personal improvement books, the classics of success literature, I more or less educated myself on how to be a self-help teacher. So it was just a natural education and a natural extension to then start writing about it. But I didn't plan to write self-help books. I planned to write novels and screenplays and invent magic tricks and write humor columns. And those were all my teenage desires and fantasies. So I fell into personal development because I was trying to personally develop me.
Ah, so but what we always say, like in coaching and stuff, that did you have an inclination already from a young age to write? Because most of the time when we look at children or ourselves as children, we kind of already know what we're going for. Like we have these tendencies, let's say, where we're going to end up in our adult life. Is that something that happened to you as well?
That's a great question. I did decide to be an author when I was a teenager, but I did go through a soul-searching period because I've always been interested in so many different things. I thought I was going to be a prize fighter, a boxer at one point. I thought I was going to be the world's most famous magician. I had a name, Harry Excello, because I idolized Harry Houdini. I thought I was going to be a detective at one point because I watched too many detective shows on television in the 1950s and early 1960s. I thought I was going to be a baseball player because I was so into Babe Ruth. And as I looked into all of these different things, what occurred to me is, as a writer, I could write about characters who did do all those different things. And so by proxy, I can actually pretend to be a baseball player or detective or a magician or whatever it happened to be. And then I also realized I loved and still love books. I am a book addict. I am a book scholar, a book collector, a book writer, a book sharer. I buy books, review books, give books, devour books, still buy books today. I might be Amazon's favorite customer because I go online almost every day, one click, and there's another book coming. And they just keep on going. So I did decide to be an author when I was young, but I didn't know what kind and I didn't know how.
Okay, I remember reading, obviously, that you always talk about that you were homeless at the time. So how did that experience shape you? And because is that the time when you started reading up on personal development books, or was that already before, or how?
I was reading about personal development books even before that. Okay. But when I decided to be an author, excuse me here. When I decided to be an author, I moved from Ohio to Texas to pursue my dream. And when I got to Texas, I thought that there would be gold on the streets.
Which was
because Dallas, Texas was heavily promoted in the 1970s. But there wasn't gold and there weren't jobs. And I was quickly unemployed. I was quickly desperate, and I was quickly on the streets. People would say, what kind of car did I live in? I didn't have a car. Didn't live in a car. I lived on the streets. I lived in church pews. I lived in the public library. I was still devouring personal improvement books. And in fact, in the public library in Dallas, Texas, I still know where the personal improvement books are because that's where I was sitting. That was the floor, that was the corner that I stayed on so I can develop myself. So yes, I was homeless. And it was a wake-up call because I was reading all those self-help books that just kept saying, you're responsible for your life. You've created your life. And it would be in my face. And I would say, how is this possible? How would I create poverty, homelessness, struggle, misery? Why would I do that? And with a lot of reflection, I realized I was modeling my life after the lives of authors I greatly admired, who were self-destructive, who were melancholy, and many of which ended up as suicides. When I realized I was unconsciously wanting to be like Jack London, who died at the age of 40 as a suicide, or as Ernest Hemingway, who's considered one of the greatest American writers of all time, but shot himself to kill himself at the end. A part of me thought I need to have a dramatic life like them in order to be successful like them. When I woke up and realized that's a belief. Surely there are authors who are healthy, well-adjusted, and just as successful, just as prosperous, just as fulfilled, just as prolific. And if I modeled those authors and their belief systems, I would have a different path. So being homeless really put in my face the idea that your beliefs create your reality. And this is true for everybody watching. You may not be homeless, you may not be in poverty, but whatever you're struggling with, whatever is around you right now is a mirror of the beliefs inside your head. This is like an outer projection, and the movie projector is actually in your brain. And I learned that in the most abrupt way when I was homeless.
Very powerful what you said about these authors, because I think Amy Winehouse, the great singer from the UK, when she died, she always said she's going to be part of the 27 Club, and that's what happened. She died at 27 because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So is that what you've just said is like that people don't actually wake up, but they're kind of in this dream of they think everything's kind of going all right. Is that what's prohibiting them from living their dream life, because they kind of feel like they're just modeling off something else? Like we're all kind of sheep. We're coming out of school and you go to college, you get married, you do this, you look at your friends, what they do, and you model off that. Is that what happens?
Absolutely, that's what's happening, because for the most part, everybody's unconscious. We're walking in a dream state and not knowing it. Even Buddha and so many people have said that life is an illusion. And Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, says it's an illusion. And I come from that. My background and my belief system is everything is a projection of the beliefs within ourselves. Most of us don't know it. This is why I say there's at least 4 stages of consciousness. And I talk about this a lot. The first stage is victimhood, which really isn't a state of awakening at all, because we're mostly born into it. And when we're born into that victimhood mentality, we download all the beliefs from our parents, from the school system, from the media, from religion, from the society around us, from the culture itself. I know I travel a lot these days, and I was in Russia fairly recently, and it was pouring down rain. And I said, oh my goodness, it's pouring cats and dogs out there. And everybody looked at me like, what does that mean? In the United States, meaning saying it's pouring cats and dogs means it's really pouring, it's flooding out there, it's just a downpour. The people in Russia are going, what are you talking about? There's no cats, there's no dogs, it's not pouring. And what does rain have to do with cats and dogs anyway? Their culture didn't have that belief. And that's a very simple, silly example. But most of us, if not all of us, I mean, 99.999% of us are born into this state of victimhood. We are not taught how to survive. We're barely taught how to get by. We don't have personal development in school. We don't have success literature in school. We don't have those skills of developing life mission and the courage to pursue our dreams. We don't have anything about exploring our beliefs. So we download everything, and everybody's giving us their information not with any sort of conspiracy, not with any sort of evil or dark intent. I just ask people, were your parents enlightened? Were your parents Mr. and Mrs. Buddha? And everybody laughs and says, no, they weren't Mr. and Mrs. Buddha. No, they had their own limiting beliefs. You got them. And unless at some point in your life, you're lucky enough to watch a movie like The Secret or watch a show like this or hear this podcast, and you start to get the little tickle of a new idea that says, hey, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to buy what they sold me. Maybe I don't have to believe what my parents believe. My father, who just a few months ago passed away, when I was growing up, he said, the best way to double your money is to fold your money over and put it back in your pocket. And I grew up laughing like that and going, man, that is smart. Just double my money, put it back in my pocket and keep going. And I've doubled it. You know, my dad's so smart. And then at some point I started to go, is that true? No, it's a statement of scarcity. It is a statement of scarcity. I wrote a book called Attract Money Now, which I give away. I'll give it to all of your listeners later. We'll talk about this. And in it, I talk about one of the best ways to attract money is to give it away, not fold it over and put it in your pocket. My father was born in 1925. In 1929, there was the Great Depression in America. He's 5 years old when this happens. He learns at an early age, there is not enough to go around. There is always shortage. You will always be hungry. Money will always be scarce. And because that was such an intense branding on his brain, he lived to be 93 years old and still wanted to double his money by folding it over and putting it in his pocket.
Wow.
I, on the other hand, had read enough self-help books to go, wait a minute, maybe I should question that. And that's where we all need to be, because otherwise, as you point out, we're kind of the walking dead.
Yeah.
Henry David Thoreau said, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. Well, that was in the 1800s. He would say the same about men and women. We are quietly desperate as we walk as zombies through our day, not pursuing our lives or going after the greatest that we could, because we don't even know how. We don't know that it's possible. We don't think it's possible for us personally, and yet it is. So we have to leave victimhood and go into that second stage of awakening that I call empowerment.
There's a lot of great things you've already said. I'm going to question you about the stage 2 in a minute. But what you've just said is that, the walking dead, obviously, then, chuck in the social media at the moment, right? People are constantly, everywhere you go, everyone's glued to their phone. What do you do instead of thinking for yourself or feeling into your intuition, anything? People are, glued to their phones. Do you feel that because now that there's so much information out there as well, do you feel that there's a shift happening in the world at the moment, that people are actually they're waking up more and they're feeling more the need to look at these things, or do you feel it's declining?
I do believe people are waking up more, but we're in this crucial point here where we have to make a decision because there are so many distractions. You mentioned the social media. I'm 65 years old. I don't even understand all the social media. I'm doing Twitter and Facebook, but I have a friend who has a 13-year-old daughter, and they're talking about all these different things. I have no clue what they're talking about, let alone try to keep up with it. The big thing I noticed, though, is if any of us try to keep up with that or get too absorbed with that, we are disconnected. We end up disconnected from what I call the divine. Some people will call it God. Some people will call it the universe. Sometimes I just call it the great something. It's a great mystery that we're part of. But I believe the great something is listening to us when we make requests and trying to speak to us through intuition, through feelings, through inspirations. But if we're distracted, we don't get that message out and we don't get a message in. And that's what clips us from evolving and awakening to the next level. It is so easy because you get that, that brain rush that goes on when you look at your, you pick up a phone or you check your email and somebody liked the one post you put up. And it's somebody you never even heard of, somebody you don't really even know, but it just feels like, oh, somebody liked it, which means somebody liked me. Well, it's real easy for the ego to get sucked into that. And that's the danger. I don't think there's any problem with toying with it if you can be detached from it and probably use it in some way to advance your message and maybe your mission. But for those who wake up and start looking at their emails, start looking at their social media, I think we're disconnected at that point. I've advised people that when you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes, do not reach for the phone, do not reach for the computer, do not reach for any electronics. And in fact, leave your eyes closed for a moment and state your intentions for the day. What would you like to have, do, or be? And align your body and mind with this goal for the day. And visualize how you would like that to flow and really get into what I call feel it real. That feeling it real experience while you're still in bed with your eyes closed. And even while you're still there, go into the gratitude. Oh, I'm alive. I'm breathing air. I had a great night's sleep, or whatever it was. I had wonderful dreams, or whatever it was. And then get up, do your stretches and your coffee and whatever else you have to do, but way before you ever hit social media. Again, I think the social media is a wonderful, entertaining, sometimes educational, probably useful tool, but we don't want it to take over us.
Yeah, I think it's very, very powerful because I experience it a lot as soon as I spend too much time on the internet or even, on the computer, especially now in this job that I do. I feel drained. I feel like I need to go out into nature and really
Yes.
And have it back because, you're the master of the law of attraction. You've mentioned a lot of bits already. I'm going to just squeeze it a little bit more. So you've said that we attract everything in our lives, right? So what you've also said with the homelessness, we attracted that because you modeled off those authors that you really like. So can I literally attract everything into my life? Like apart from, I don't know, wealth, the dream partner, whatever, also disease and death. Can I attract everything?
Yes, you can attract everything, and we do attract everything. But we have to understand the deeper levels of this. Because when people see the movie The Secret, they might get excited and then try it and go, hey, I sat in a chair and I visualized a new car and I never got it. So it doesn't work. And they can easily dismiss it, and I don't blame them. I mean, The Secret's a wonderful movie, but it was simply an introduction to an idea. That's it. It's not the course in how to do this. I've created coaching programs, mentoring programs, courses, books, audios, all of this to help people understand the deeper aspects. But for you, Patricia, and your audiences, I want to make sure everybody gets what I'm talking about. We create from our unconscious beliefs and feelings. This is why if somebody is sitting there and they say, well, I would like to attract, thousands of dollars, which is wonderful. I say Godspeed to you. You should have thousands of dollars and use it for a good cause. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. However, if unconsciously they think money's bad, money's evil, money corrupts, what about the taxes? People will make fun of me. People will steal my money. There's a shortage going around. I don't deserve it. Any of those unconscious beliefs will block it from happening. It'll block it, it'll stall it, it'll slow it down. And if by some magic you do bring in thousands of dollars, you'll get rid of it quick. You'll get rid of it quick because a part of you isn't at peace with money. So this is the deeper aspect of the law of attraction. It is not just what you think. It is what you are unconsciously believing with feeling. I tell people, look, strip away all the metaphysics and just look at the science of this. Science says that the brain is responding to imagery and an emotion. Most of us spend time imagining the worst. We imagine what we fear, we imagine what we hate, and then we wonder, why don't we get more of that? Why are we still feeling these fears? Why are we still feeling these hates? It's because that's what our focus is on. And the law of attraction is matching your thoughts, your vision, and your emotion. So we want to wake up. The victims don't know this at all. The empowered people know this. We want to wake up and go, what do I want that I will celebrate in my life? What do I want that's joyous? What do I want that is happy? What do I want that is positive? What do I want that's healthy? What do I want that makes a difference in my life and my family and maybe the entire world? Focus on what you love. That's the key, because love is a powerful emotion, just like hate and fear. It's just in a different direction. So that's the first thing, is focus on what do you want that you will love to have. And the second part of that is, what does it look like? Find a way to visualize it. This is why people put vision boards up. I have a giant vision board right over here over the whole wall. And we cut out things, what we'd like to have, do, or be, and paste it on that wall. Partly because we're telling our brain, which is paying attention to emotion and with images, here's what I want, brain. And then we keep doing it, which is repetition. And the more we do it, the more it hardwires the new request into our brain. So the short answer is yes, we attract it all. And we attract it for unknown reasons until we explore them. They're not locked away reasons. They're just reasons that are tucked under the covers a little bit. And often you go to counseling, or often you get a coach, there's a mentor to you. You can do it on your own. You can do it with the right books, or the right journaling is often very good to do it. There are ways to do it that way, but you have to do it to find out what's your wiring, what's your software of the mind that is bringing your reality. Because I have found you change your beliefs, you get a different reality.
You were just, that's all very super powerful. And, you were just mentioning at the beginning the blocks, right? So people have blocks. You said, yes, I can put on my vision board. Yes, I can say, I'm going to get this car. I'm going to get whatever I want. But how do I change those blocks, right, inside of me that, that kind of prevent me from attracting what I really, want in my life? So how, just by saying that, I'm changing my beliefs, how do I change my beliefs?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. I have lots of processes to do it. And there's lots of processes out there. But let me just kind of collapse time for everybody and give you a couple thoughts, because there is truth in just realizing awareness alone will melt blocks. Awareness alone. So I want to make you aware of what could be a block, and not for you particularly, Patricia, but the people listening or watching. One of the big ones is, I don't deserve it. That's one of the big ones. That's in almost everybody, because they grew up almost without exception in a family that didn't 100% support them, 100% encourage them, 100% believe in them, or 100% say, you can have, do, or be whatever you want. We didn't have that growing up. I know I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have anything close to that growing up. So the very first thing we have to do is look in the mirror and love ourselves. And when I say love ourselves, I don't mean an ego love. I mean a self-approval, a self-appreciation. We look in the mirror and go, you know what? You're good enough just the way you are. You are perfect just the way you are. Yes, you're growing, you're changing, you're morphing, but you are worth it all just the way you are. You deserve whatever it is that you want. Patricia, that's one of the biggest ones right there. Just realizing you deserve it. When I was after homeless poverty for a long time, and I would look in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw. I wasn't proud of me. And I had to look in the mirror and go, okay, what are the good features, or what have I heard good about myself? At that point, I'm unknown, broke, alone, no track record of success, no car, no money, no nothing. But I got a vision. I do want to go somewhere. And I have to look in the mirror and go, you got great eyes. You have a great smile. You have a great vision. Trying to talk to myself to rebuild my own sense of appreciation. That's one of the first things, is to realize you are worth it just the way you are. You deserve whatever it is that you're putting on that wall, whatever it is that you say you would like to have, do, or be. That's the first thing. The second thing that stops almost everybody is they say, well, I want a new car. And then their next statement is, how? How am I going to get a new car? Or they'll say, I want to meet my soulmate. But they'll mumble something to the effect, all the good ones are taken. How am I going to find my soulmate here in wherever village I'm living in? And how is one of the biggest mistakes people make with the law of attraction or any sort of self-improvement. Because the reality is, you don't know how. Nobody knows how. Nobody knows how when you set the goal. When you're sitting here and you'd say, I like to be over there, you don't know how to get there. Nobody does. It was Steve Jobs who said, you could connect the dots after you get there. You can turn around and look back and go, oh, that led to this, and this led to that, and that led to that. But when you're starting out, you can't connect the dots because you don't know where those dots are. So I tell people, you've got to let go of the how. And then, of course, they say, well, what do I do? You hold your vision, you meditate with feeling on it every day, and you look where you're sitting, and you take the very first baby step in front of you, whatever that is. Whatever the baby step that is moving in the direction of your dream. And it could be go buy a book, go attend a seminar, make a phone call, go get coffee someplace, go watch a movie. I don't know, it'll be different to each person. But when you make that baby step, guess what? The next baby step will show up. And then you take that one, the next step will show up. And before you know it, down the road, you'll be standing there with the completion of the goal, the soulmate, the car, whatever it was. And you'll be able to tell the story of how you got there. And some of it will be believable. You'll go, I can't believe I turned the corner and then I met Susie and I hadn't seen her in 5 years and Susie knows so-and-so. You know, there'll be some sort of magical, thrilling, exciting story. But you can't make that happen. But you do have to participate. And you participate by doing whatever the next step is for you. Those are a couple of things people can do right now.
I think that's a really, I love that. It's a really vital point, because I feel that a lot of times people come up and they say they don't know what's going on. I said, but you need to take action, inspired action. I think Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say that, or he always used to say, take inspired action, feel into your intuition, because I feel nowadays people do so much, but they don't actually, they're not just, they don't let it be. They just do so much. They just want to be they're running around, stressed. I mean, I know this myself. I come from a sales background. I used to be selling stuff and just, doing stuff all the time. But then you're exhausted and you're not actually inspired, and you're not taking inspired action. So do you feel that it's also important to take these breaks, that they're actually even almost more important than doing the stuff, but really listening and feeling into it?
That's a wonderful distinction, because it's very easy to stay busy but not productive. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by it, it's real easy for people. I got to run this errand. I got to go put gas in the car. I got to go call what's his name. I got to go get diapers. I got to go get dog food. I got to go whatever. And you can stay busy all day long, and at the end of the day go, wow, I did 30 things. Well, some of those things I understand for your survival. You or somebody has to go get the dog food and the diapers and all of that. However, your dream is waiting for you, and your dream gets co-created in part by you. The universe will do its part if you do your part. You do have to take what I call also inspired action. And that's where I say part of that morning routine, and partly even at night before you go to bed, you ask yourself, what are 5 things that I feel I need to do tomorrow? When I say I feel I need to do, I'm asking you to check with your intuition, your inspiration, your gut feeling, your inner knowing, the part of you that says you got to do this, even when your brain goes, why? Your brain's got a question there. Your brain's got to say, is that really necessary? Well, there's a part of you that is being nudged to go in a particular direction. You have to trust that and take what we call inspired action, not even knowing how is that going to work out. We don't really know. I remember one time I was working for a big oil company, and this is, back in the 1980s, and I was trying to be a writer, but working by day at an oil company. And every day at lunch, we all went to the mall, which is a big shopping center, and that's where we all ate. But one day I got up and something in me said, don't go there, turn left at the light. Don't go right, turn left. I had never turned left. Nobody ever turned left. But that day I said, okay, I'll go left. I turned left, and 2 blocks away was a little Italian deli. Now, I was born and raised on Italian food up in Ohio. Here I am in Texas. There's no Italian food, no real Italians that I know. And a little Italian deli is there with a little Italian man. And I felt like I found my home. But it gets even, well, he not only became one of my best friends in the world, but I noticed he didn't know anything about marketing, and he didn't have his menu done. I took his menu, I rewrote it, I printed it for him, I hung it up in the office where I was. I went back the next day, and I couldn't get in because the line went around the corner. He had so many new customers from my menu and my promotions. Then I walk in and I hand him the flyers. He fed me for free for the year.
Wow.
Then don't stop there, because at that same point in the 1980s, I was struggling and I needed a house to live in. He owner financed the home that was built for him and gave it to me.
Huh.
All of this from turning left.
Mm-hmm.
And turning left was an inspired action that made no sense whatsoever. I could have easily said, well, that's a dumb idea. There's nothing but houses that way. I'm not going left. But you also learn to trust. You trust the unknown, and sometimes, in this case, changed my life forever.
It's amazing. There's so many things in this story that I just mentioned, because there's another really important aspect that you mentioned earlier as well. It's like, it's about giving, you know, what you give out, you also attract. So what you said about your dad, about he was doubling your money, you just double it over. But in order to, for instance, attract money or attract love, whatever, you have to give it away, right? So that's a paradox, I think, for most of our brains, for most of our society, because everyone's, I mean, especially here in Germany, people are like on scarcity and you need to save and otherwise, you know, blah, blah, whatever. Whereas, of course, you can't just, you know, spend your money all the time. But I think what you've just said is like, it's about giving away something and then you attract more of it. So it was genuine what you did. You helped him out for no reason, right? Just because you wanted to. You had no ultimate goal behind this or any agenda. You were just doing it. So it's the same with anything, right? When you attract, is that true?
It's absolutely true. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because there was no agenda. There was no hidden desire. There was no hidden, oh, I hope he feeds me, or I hope he gives me a house. I didn't know that was possible. That was nowhere in my brain. All I knew was, well, I liked the guy. I liked his food. He needed a menu. I went and made one and gave it to him. So no, there was no sort of, I don't know, unconscious or conscious strategy at all. I just did it to do it. I actually believe in something called karmic marketing. And karmic marketing, yeah, it's a phrase. I still want to write a book about it because I've been talking about it for 20 some years. And karmic marketing is where I willfully, joyfully give products, services, goods that I could otherwise sell and make good money from. I give them now to people, which I'll do to your audience too, because I know in some way, shape, or form, the great something will reward me in some unexpected, joyful, surprising way down the road. I don't know how, and I'm not even banking on that. It's just kind of a belief and an assumption, and I've seen it work enough that I know it's a good thing to do. Plus, there's that great feeling of just doing something good, you know, doing something good. And so when I give, like I told you, people can have Attract Money Now. That's at attractmoneynow.com. There's a book there. It's free. I have lots of things that are free over at my website, vitalelifemastery.com. vitalelifemastery.com. Attract Money Now and a bunch of stuff is there.
Yeah. I'll put it all in the show notes so people actually, you know, can just click on it.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you said something else as well. I mean, I remember that you said that you came up with, or you invented the term spiritual marketing as well.
Right.
I think you were at a Bob Proctor event or something. I think you said that in your book, The Attractive Factor. I was just listening to the audiobook actually earlier today. And I love that story because you were like, okay, I went to a Bob Proctor seminar and I haven't even published that book yet, by, you know, you pitched it in a way to the audience, or Bob Proctor did it, and people fell in love with it. And it's interesting. Right. Because now we have 2019 and spiritual marketing is like the thing, right?
And that's a good reminder. Well, you're right. That was way back in 1997, 98, somewhere in there. And I had written a little booklet for my sister, because my sister was struggling and she was on welfare and she was trying to raise kids. And I thought she needs to know some of the things I learned. And I wrote this little pamphlet at the time, and it had a 5-step formula in it. And I called it spiritual marketing because it was part spiritual and part marketing. So it was kind of metaphysics and material. And I gave it to her, and I noticed she liked it. She got off of welfare. She made some differences. Then I thought, well, I'm going to give it to other people. And Bob Proctor did me to be in his seminar, The Science of Getting Rich, in Denver. And I just gave it to him. It was just like, he gave me the seminar. So here's my book. Well, he stood in front of 250 people and told everybody about the book. And almost all of the people rushed me at the first break wanting the book. And I had to say, there isn't a book. I don't have a book. Well, then the next thing you know, a publisher walks up to me, the book gets published. book becomes one of my first bestsellers. New York Times did a story on it and some other books that just were suddenly overnight becoming success. Then a big publisher came to me and they wanted to publish the book. They just wanted to rename it. That book, Spiritual Marketing, became The Attractor Factor. That book, The Attractor Factor, is my all-time best-selling book out of 70-some books that I've written. And The Attractor Factor is what got me into the movie The Secret, because Rhonda Byrne read The Attractor Factor and she called me up and said, hey, I want to make a movie and I'd like you to be in it. I'm like, I've never been in a movie before, and who are you? And of course I said yes, and it changed my life and has been changing the lives of lots of people. But trace it all back, all the way back. That little book, I wrote it for nothing as a gift to my sister. I gave it to Bob Proctor as a gift. It was all gift based. I never ever thought, oh, if I give away this book, it'll lead to a publishing deal, it'll lead me being in a movie, it'll lead to this, it'll lead to that. I never thought that. This is karmic marketing. You give now, and the great something through karma rewards you later.
Amazing. I think that's what really we have to really remind ourselves to do that, because this world sometimes is so like everybody has this agenda. But talking about books and looking at your t-shirt, latest book is, let's see if I can pronounce this, Ho'oponopono, right? It's the Hawaiian method. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? What is it? What's just briefly, I know you don't have that much time, but, just tell me, what are the books?
Well, I've written 2 books on Ho'oponopono. The first has created a movement around the world that's called Zero Limits.
Yeah.
Then 10 years later, I wrote a book called At Zero. And Patricia, this is the one where everybody has to drop everything and go get the book, because it's not about me and it's not about the book. It is about this method called Ho'oponopono, which is a very simple Hawaiian healing technique that I first heard about because there was a therapist who helped an entire ward of mentally ill criminals by using Ho'oponopono on himself. As he used it on himself, those mentally ill criminals who had to be shackled and sedated every day because they were so dangerous, they got better. And over time, they were being released. When I heard this story, I had to find a therapist, and I did. And I had to learn his method, and I did. And I wanted to share it with the rest of the world, which I'm doing through my books. And the whole idea is, yes, you're responsible for your life. It is a co-creation. It's still the law of attraction. Your beliefs are still creating everything and pulling everything into you. But there's an easy way out. An easy way out of what the mess that we sometimes create in our lives is to use Ho'oponopono on our perceptions and our data and our inner beliefs, those limitations that are inside of our mind and our heart. And very simply, there's 4 phrases that you say, and you don't say them to anybody else. You don't say them out loud. You say them inside yourself as a communication to God, the divine, the great something, the universe, whatever phrase people are comfortable with. And the 4 phrases are, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. You can say them in any order. And basically what we're saying is, and again, we're talking to the great something. It's like talking to God. I'm sorry for whatever limiting beliefs are in me that I've not been aware of that created this situation. Please forgive me for being unconscious to the programming that has been here. There's no judgment here. There's no punishment here. It's not right or wrong. We're just admitting that we weren't aware. Thank you for healing the situation, cleaning it up, clearing it, removing it, deleting it. And I love you for my life. I love you for this clarity. I love you for this healing. I love you. And that's it in a nutshell. Of course, I've written 2 books about it, so there are depths to it. But in essence, it's a way of cleaning and clearing your limiting beliefs within yourself by saying 4 phrases to your connection to divinity. And the phrases are, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you.
And that's again the self-love and the gratitude aspect. Really, really,
Yes.
I love that. Obviously I'm going to put that down. I've seen you a lot with the whole Ho'oponopono and didn't know what it was, but definitely, going to get the book and also put it down for all my listeners. Let me see if I have anything else. I think I have pretty much everything covered. There's another final round of questions that I always ask everyone that is on the Kick-Ass Living podcast.
All right.
Is there somebody or that has inspired you the most? I'm sure there's heaps, and I've had somebody else on the podcast who said to me, "My God, I've read over 500 books. Please don't ask me what my favorite book is." But
yeah, these are tough questions, but I love the questions because they really make me think. I have been inspired by lots of people ever since I was a little kid because I would read books and be inspired by different people. And fortunately, at this point, I've met a lot of them as well. I'm going to say P.T. Barnum. P.T. Barnum, the great showman, the circus magnate. I wrote a book on him called There's a Customer Born Every Minute. And because I did so much work and research, I really got to know him. And he was a genius. He was charming. He was clever. He was a marketer, an entrepreneur, a politician, an author, a speaker, negotiator. He was very spiritual as well. Most people don't know that. He did have outrageous thoughts about marketing, and I've learned a lot, and I've been inspired by him. I wish I could have known him or sat down and interviewed him at some point.
Okay, cool. You were just talking, I've just got one more about the marketing. So do you have a tip for like new authors, how to market the books?
Wow, how to market their books. That's a never ending process. Writing the book, no matter how hard that was the easy part. Because now that the book is done, you got to tell the world. And there's thousands of books published every single week. So you have to make yours stand out from the crowd. I will tell you one of the most underused marketing tools is publicity. And I learned that from P.T. Barnum. On his deathbed, 5 days before he died, he said he owed the wealth of his success to the newspapers of the world. Now, of course, today we have a lot of different ways to get the stories out there. But the short answer is the media, and however you define media, newspapers, radio, social media, blah, 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 they're starving for stories. Feed them stories about you and your book. And don't just say, hey, new book out. That's not interesting. But tell us the story about you, the story behind the book, how the book influences people, or somebody that's read the book, or an unusual customer or reader. But use publicity. It's free, and the media is starving for good stories. So give them good stories.
Awesome. One last one is, I've got three more, is what does authenticity mean to you?
Well, authenticity is an inside job. It's me being true to myself. The rest of the world may or may not know if I'm authentic or not because they don't know what's going on in me. I have to be congruent with my heart, my values, my mind, and what I'm doing. So authenticity is me being 100% congruent with my own values.
Okay, and if you can sum up your life in an elevator pitch in 6 words, what would it be like?
Well, the first answer is what I actually say. When people say, hey, what do you do? I usually say, I do whatever the hell I want. That's usually what I tell them. But if push comes to shove, I say, I am an author of books that I hope inspire people to have the lives of their dreams.
That's really cool. And my final question, I use nakedness as a strong metaphor for authenticity, but also nakedness is like something for me, like the true essence that we are, like that intuition, that voice that tells you to go left instead of right.
Yeah.
The thing is that a lot of times, when we feel naked means we feel vulnerable or sometimes even embarrassed. And I feel the more we share this and we more listen to stories about other people sharing their naked moments, the less power it has over us. So do you have one naked moment that you can share with our audience?
Well, I already talked about being homeless, which I never used to talk about, so that's very negative. But I think the thing that will surprise people, and I'm being very transparent to say this, is I speak a lot. I speak all over the world, and the largest audience was 19,500 people live. But what people don't know is I'm terrified of speaking. I am more of an introvert. The very first time I spoke in public, because I had come out with a book and I had heard the best way to sell the book is to actually be in front of the audience as a speaker, and if they like you, they'll buy the book. There were six people in the room. And I was sweating. I was going to throw up. I leaned against the wall. My knees were weak. I almost passed out. I kept thinking, they hate me. They're bored out of their mind. It was sheer torture to be there, to teach 6 people, because I didn't like it. And it's still not my first preference. I still would prefer to write books and hide behind a computer rather than get on stage. So I think the big confession is the first time I spoke, almost passed out during it. And even today, obviously I'm doing it, but it's not my favorite thing. I'm often terrified before I get on stage.
Oh, wow. Dr. Joe Vitale, it was amazing and it was an absolute pleasure to have you. I feel so inspired right now. I'm going to put all the show notes, everything that you put, everything in the show notes for all our readers and listeners, especially, so they can download your book and follow you. And thank you so, so much. Don't go away in a minute. You have one last word to say to our audience, to say goodbye, and then that's it.
Oh, go for your dreams. I think the big secret is follow your passion. So if you got a dream you're passionate about, go in that direction and allow everything to work out as it may. You'll be living this glorious zinger of a life, and you'll have this gusto of energy pumping through you, all because you go for your passion. So go for your dreams.
Oh, thank you so much. Take care. Lots of love from Germany. Bye-bye.